Have you ever thought about what life was like before the dinosaurs? Think of a world with strange plants, animals, and huge scenery. This era, called the Triassic Age, was very interesting. Exactly what kinds of animals lived here? What was the appearance of the land? What causes the dinosaurs we know today to become popular? About 252 million years ago, the Triassic Period began. A lot of things changed at that time. The Earth was starting to heal after a huge mass extinction. New life was coming, and dinosaurs were ready to rule. To figure out how dinosaurs developed and did well, we need to know much about this period. We will travel through the Triassic Period together in this video. We'll look at the different kinds of animals that lived during this time, from the earliest amphibians and lizards to the first dinosaurs. We'll also talk about what we can learn about the history of our world and how changes in their environment affected their evolution. So, why should you watch this video? Knowing about the Triassic will help you understand how the dinosaurs got started and how they came to rule the Earth. Before we start, click the subscribe button if you love dinosaurs and want to learn more about their exciting world. Please don't miss any of our dinosaur events. With that out of the way, let's take a moment to learn about how our planet formed and how it got to the Triassic time. About 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth started out as a fiery ball of liquid rock that slowly solidified. Earth was a harsh place for the first billion years, with steady volcanic activity and meteor impacts shaping its surface. As the world cooled, water vapor condensed into oceans, which were the first places where living things could survive. Tiny microbes prepared the way for bigger, more complex organisms to live in these seas. These living things changed over millions of years, which is how plants and animals came to be. Earth was full of life by the time of the Paleozoic, which began about 541 million years ago. Earth has been shaped by major geological events over its past. Mountain ranges forming and landmasses breaking apart were both natural parts of how the Earth worked. As time went on, the continents moved closer together until they joined to make the supercontinent Pangaea. Pangaea's formation had a huge effect on ecosystems and temperature. Animals and plants were able to move over long distances once the land was connected. On the other hand, this meant that when things changed, they touched a lot of creatures at once. Later, around 252 million years ago, there was the Permian-Triassic extinction, which was the biggest major extinction in Earth's history. Around 90% of marine species and 70% of land animals went extinct. The event gave the surviving species new chances to evolve and adapt to a world that was changing. With these huge changes happening on Earth, the Triassic time was the start of a new era. The next part will talk about the amazing animals that appeared during this time and how they changed to survive in their surroundings. One of the most important changes that happened on Earth was the creation of Pangaea, a supercontinent that started to form in the late Paleozoic period and lasted until the Triassic period. Nearly all of Earth's landmasses came together to form this huge landmass, which completely changed the planet's landscape. Pangaea changed the temperature and ecosystems in big ways. Since so much land was pushed together, the weather in the interior was very harsh, with dry, arid conditions far from the ocean. The temperature along the coasts, on the other hand, was more mild. This varied geography made a lot of different habitats, from deserts to lush forests, where many kinds of life could grow. When continents came together, species could also move and spread over very long distances. Animals and plants that developed in one area of Pangaea could move to another, where they would adapt in new ways and form new species. However, this made people compete for resources, which pushed development in interesting ways, such as early reptiles started to do well in Pangaea's many environments. Some grew well in dry places, while others did better in wet ones. Being able to adapt set the stage for the development of many types of reptiles, including the ancestors of dinosaurs. While Pangaea was still changing the climate, it made it possible for different species to evolve. This led to the amazing variety that would soon happen. In the next part, we'll talk more about the interesting animals that lived on this supercontinent and how they changed to survive. When Pangaea broke apart, the temperature during the Triassic period changed into a complicated web of extremes. During this time, the weather changed a lot because of geography and geological action. The climate along the coasts was milder, but the vast center of the supercontinent was mostly made up of dry, arid deserts. As a result of the extreme heat and lack of rain, the arid areas often had problems with running out of water. To live in these places, plants had to come up with amazing ways to change. There were a lot of these dry plants. Some had thick, waxy leaves that kept water in, and others had deep roots that reached underground water stores. They were able to survive in harsh situations thanks to these changes. The wetter parts of Pangaea, on the other hand, were bright and lush, with lots of plants like ferns, cycads, and the first conifers. Many kinds of animals and plants could find food and shelter in these places. Things were not easy during the Triassic, though. During this time, volcanic action had a big effect on the weather. Volcanic outbursts send ash and gases into the air, which can make the sky darker and change the weather for long periods of time. This event could cause times of cooling or too much rain, which would have an effect on ecosystems all over the supercontinent. These changes had big effects on both plants and animals, which had to adapt quickly to stay alive. The plants and animals of the Triassic were formed by the interaction between dry and wet areas as well as volcanic activity. Animals had to change how they lived to survive in these different temperatures, which affected how they evolved. The fight to stay alive in these changing environments led to changes in how animals behave, how they look, and how they reproduce. In the next part, we'll look at how these changing climates not only affected the Triassic plants and animals but also paved the way for the rise of the dinosaurs, a new and powerful group of reptiles. At the same time that the Triassic environment changed, a new group of amazing animals called reptiles began to appear. In the late Paleozoic, these early reptiles came from amphibians that were able to respond to the changing environments of the Triassic. The change from amphibians to reptiles was a major turning point in the history of development. Reptiles didn't just appear out of nowhere. They slowly changed over time to be able to survive in a wide range of settings. Their tough skin, which kept them from losing water, was one of the most important changes they went through. Their amphibian ancestors had to stay close to water sources to keep their skin moist, so this gave them a huge benefit. Additionally, reptiles' lungs got better and their bones got stronger, which let them become busy hunters and discoverers of new environments. Because they could lay their eggs on land, they were even less reliant on water. They were able to settle in a wider range of natural niches after this discovery, which gave them new chances to stay alive and have babies. Some early lizards developed features that let them climb trees and glide between branches, while others learned how to live in dry places by changing how they behaved in ways that helped them keep water from running out. They had to have a lot of different adaptations to stay alive because they had to fight off frogs and plants that were becoming more and more diverse in the Triassic. As these changes took hold, reptiles started to split into many different species, each with its own set of skills to do well in its surroundings. This early stage of reptile development set the stage for the evolution of the dinosaurs, which would soon become the most common land-based vertebrates. Come with us next time as we learn more about how dinosaurs evolved and how these early reptiles paved the way for the magnificent animals that would rule the Earth for millions of years. A lot of reptiles were starting to do well on land during the Triassic time. Early amphibians were also making their mark. Hylonomus, which is often praised as one of the oldest known amphibians, was one of the most interesting of these early amphibians. These amazing animals appeared in the late Paleozoic, right before the start of the Triassic. They were different from their ancestors in many ways. With its thin body and long, flexible legs, Hylonomus could live in trees or on the ground in the forest. This change helped it get away from enemies and get to food sources that most ground-dwelling animals couldn't reach. Hylonomus could climb to find insects and other small invertebrates hidden in the leaves. This was an important skill for it to have because it lived in places with lots of plants. These early amphibians were very important to the areas where they lived. As insectivores, they helped keep the number of insects in check, which made them important in the food chain. Hylonomus helped keep the environment balanced by eating small invertebrates. This kept the landscape from being dominated by a single species. Their presence also made it possible for bigger predators to get food, which connected different levels of the food web. Also, frogs like Hylonomus were very important to the health of the places they lived. By looking for food, they helped spread seeds, which led to more plant life and breeding. As both hunters and prey, they helped keep the delicate balance of life in the Triassic period, which made it possible for ecosystems to become more complicated. As early frogs did well, they not only made their environments better but also set the stage for future evolutionary changes. Not only are amphibians starting to show up in the Triassic world, but so are archosaurs, which are a type of lizard. Soon, these interesting animals would become the most important part of the past of life on Earth, changing it even more. Let's talk about archosaurs, an important group of reptiles that lived during the Triassic time. Ancestors of current birds and crocodiles are in this diverse lineage, which is a key branch in the evolutionary tree. The appearance of archosaurs was a turning point in the history of vertebrates. It led to changes in environments that would last for millions of years. One thing that makes dinosaurs special is the way their bones are arranged. Archosaurs stood more upright than other dinosaurs of their time, which made them more mobile and helped them move more efficiently. This physical advantage gave them a big advantage over other animals of the time, making them better at hunting and exploring a wide range of settings. Their strong legs helped them do more than just run. They needed to be able to run quickly when they were hunting food or getting away from danger. Archosaurs also had teeth that were different from each other, which let them change what they ate based on their needs. Some archosaurs were mainly carnivorous, eating small animals and scraps, while others may have been omnivore, eating both plants and small animals. Their ability to eat a variety of foods not only helped them stay alive, but it also helped them evolve and become more diverse quickly across many environments. With a wide range of foods, archosaurs were able to live in a lot of different environments, making them very dangerous in the Triassic world. The appearance of dinosaurs had huge effects on the ecosystems of the Triassic. As they got stronger and changed, they started to beat out other amphibians and lizards, which threw the balance of life off in big ways. As they became more powerful, they paved the way for the ultimate rise of the dinosaurs, who were descended from these early archosaurs and would come to rule the world in ways that no one could have imagined. As we learn more about the Triassic period, we'll soon find out how these early archosaurs and the changing environments they lived in made way for the amazing rise of dinosaurs. Stay tuned as we take a trip to a world where these beautiful animals will soon rule, changing everything about life on Earth. As the Triassic period went on, conditions were right for the dinosaurs, one of the most famous groups of animals on Earth, to appear. These amazing animals started to develop traits that would make them stand out and finally make them the most common vertebrates on land. In contrast to their ancestors, early dinosaurs learned to stand up straight, which made them faster and stronger. This change to their bodies made it much easier for them to move through the different Triassic landscapes, which helped them avoid being eaten and catch their food. The dinosaurs' success wasn't just due to the structural benefits of their bodies. The early dinosaurs had a wide range of body shapes and sizes, which helped them survive in a variety of settings. Some evolved to be small and quick, great for sprinting, while others turned into huge, four-legged monsters that were better at eating and browsing the lush plants. This variety was very important to their developmental path. One of the earliest dinosaurs that sticks out as being very primitive is the Eoraptor. Because it was small, had a flexible body, and had sharp teeth, it could eat both small animals and insects. Because Eoraptor was so flexible, it was able to find different places to live in its environment. Also, another early dinosaur called Herrerasaurus had strong arms, sharp claws, and a good sense of smell, which were traits that would be shared by many later theropods. Early dinosaurs started to fill different ecological niches by hunting smaller animals and picking through trash. At the same time, they evolved to respond to the changing world around them. As they thrived in the Triassic's lush settings, these early giants paved the way for the huge variety of dinosaurs that would come later. Because they were able to change the environment and use new materials, evolution sped up dramatically. The early dinosaurs' offspring would take over the regions generation after generation, changing into some of the most beautiful animals the Earth has ever seen. To understand how these early giants did so well, we also need to look at the place where they lived. Besides the rise of dinosaurs, the Triassic was also known for its wide range of plants that were necessary for living. Let's learn more about the Triassic plants and how they helped shape the ecosystems of that time. There were many kinds of plants on Earth during the Triassic time, and they were very important to the ecosystem's health. Cycads, ginkgos, and the first conifers, which did best in warm, wet areas, were some of the most well-known plants. These plants weren't just there, they were essential to the food chain and supported many other living things that did well along with the dinosaurs. Cycads, which look a lot like palm trees, were very common during this time. They did well in a variety of situations, from dry to wet ones, thanks to their thick trunks and fern-like leaves. Cones were used to reproduce by these ancient plants, and the seeds of these plants were an important food source for early herbivorous dinosaurs, helping them stay alive and grow. With their unique fan-shaped leaves, the ginkgos added variety to the plants, doing well in a range of environments and making the ecosystem stronger. Plants that are conifers and have needle-like leaves did well in the Triasic's changing temperatures. These evergreen giants, like the ancient relatives of pines and spruces, kept water in the soil and stopped water from evaporating. This made them an important part of the environment, especially in dry areas. Their ability to do well in less than ideal situations gave many animals a place to live and food, which increased the variety of life during that time. It was very important for the environments of the Triassic to have such a wide range of plants. These plants not only gave food, but they also helped keep the environment in good shape. While herbivorous dinosaurs like Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus grazed on these plants, they helped spread seeds, which in turn helped plants reproduce and become more diverse. Plants and dinosaurs depended on each other, which made for a healthy environment where each part supported the other. This shows how complex the balance of life was during this time of change. As we can see, the plants of the Triassic were not just there to look at, they were very important to the survival of the first living things. In the Triassic, ecosystems were ready for development and change, thanks to the wide range of plants and the rise of early dinosaurs. This made way for the age of the dinosaurs. Let us keep looking into how these changing relationships set the stage for the amazing world that would come later in prehistory. In the Triassic, different species interacted with each other in a web of complex and changing relationships. Each species had a specific part in the food chain. At the base of this chain were the plants that carnivores ate, like cycads, ferns, ginkgos, and conifers. Animals that ate plants, like Plateosaurus and smaller reptiles, built the environment by turning plant matter into energy that fed higher levels of the food chain. Some of the most important animals in these environments were the predators, like early theropod dinosaurs and other carnivorous reptiles. They ate livestock, which kept the numbers of animals in check and stopped them from overgrazing. Because of these predators, there was a constant fight for life, and each species had to come up with new ways to beat its enemies. To avoid being eaten, herbivores depended on their speed, size, and sometimes just their sheer numbers. Carnivores, on the other hand, trained to be sneaky, strong, and good at pack hunting. Predators and prey had important effects on the development of both groups through their interactions. To get the upper hand on their food, predators like Postosuchus developed sharp teeth, strong jaws, and strong limbs. To stay safe, herbivores developed thick hides, camouflage, and the ability to live in groups. These connections were what kept the Triassic environment going, with each species doing its part to stay alive. But the environment wasn't just made up of animals that lived on land. Plants needed insects to pollinate them, and early amphibians and fish did well in lakes and rivers, where they ate smaller animals and were eaten by bigger snakes. It was a delicate balance, and every movement, from the tiniest bug to the biggest animal, affected the whole ecosystem. Even though the Triassic environment was very rich and varied, it could still go through terrible changes. One of Earth's most important mass extinctions would happen at the end of this time. It would be a turning point that would change life on the planet forever. Now, let's look into what caused and affected this extinction event that changed the course of development forever. The Triassic extinction event, which happened about 201 million years ago, put an end to this exciting time in Earth's past. It was one of the 5 big mass extinctions that changed the way life works on Earth. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction was caused by a mix of slow and rapid events, unlike the extinction that killed off the dinosaurs millions of years later. One of the main ideas about what caused this extinction is that the breaking apart of the supercontinent Pangaea was linked to a lot of volcanic activity. A lot of lava and gases, including carbon dioxide, were spewed into the air by this strong volcanism, especially in what is now the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. Because of these pollution, the greenhouse effect got out of hand, which made temperatures rise very quickly. As temperatures rose around the world, many habitats were destroyed. This was especially true in marine areas, where most species dwelt. Ocean acidification, which happens when more carbon dioxide dissolves in water, has killed off a lot of marine life and caused whole ecosystems to crash. On land, A lot of species had trouble adapting to the fast changes in temperature, which caused a lot of them to go extinct. Volcanic activity, climate change, and environmental stresses all worked together to wipe out about 76% of all species. Animals that lived in the ocean, big frogs, and many types of plants and insects were killed. These ecosystems had been doing well for millions of years, but they were almost about to fall apart. But even though this event was terrible, it made room for new life to start. When a lot of species went extinct, new biological niches opened up, which helped the ones that were left to change and grow. This mass extinction set the stage for dinosaurs to rule during the Jurassic period. But before we can talk about that, we need to look into which species survived and how they changed the future of life on Earth. Even though the Triassic extinction caused a lot of damage and chaos, some species were able to stay alive by adjusting to the harsh new conditions of their world. These survivors would not only live on, but they would also change and do well, shaping the ecosystems of the Jurassic Age. The early dinosaurs were some of the most famous survivors. Their small size and ability to change to new conditions helped them survive. They were better than many other species because they could live on few resources and adjust to different temperatures. In the same way, small lizards like Proterosuchus were able to stay alive by adapting to their new surroundings and using their metabolic systems to their advantage. When it comes to plants, conifers showed to be very tough. Their ability to live in both warm and cool climates meant that they continued to rule the forests and provide food for the herbivores that would finally appear in the Jurassic. After the extinction event, these plants were very important to the communities that were starting to form again. They helped keep life going. Ecosystems in the ocean also had some survivors. Many fish and animals in the ocean died, but some, like the ancestors of modern fish, found ways to survive in the new conditions. These survivors would keep changing, which is what led to the wide range of sea life seen in the Jurassic. Even though it was terrible, the extinction event did not mean the end of life on Earth. Instead, it was like starting over, letting new species develop and fill the gap left by the extinction. The age of the dinosaurs, one of the most famous times in Earth's history, began during this time of healing and adaptation. The people who lived through the Triassic extinction weren't just lucky, they were the building blocks for the Jurassic environments, which made life possible again. The world was about to start a new era as the Triassic extinction was coming to an end. Before the age of dinosaurs, the environments of the Jurassic were shaped by the people who lived through this terrible event. The Triassic time was the birthplace of many important evolutionary changes, from the first real dinosaurs to the adaptations that would shape future species' ways of staying alive. The animals that lived through the Triassic extinction, especially the early dinosaurs, were able to fill the natural gaps that had been left. Since many of their rivals are now extinct, these species quickly changed, became bigger, and took over. The result was the amazing speed with which dinosaurs evolved during the Jurassic era. Triassic, a time when small, fast, and adaptable species had the chance to thrive, paved the way for this new age of life. The Earth wasn't just left to the dinosaurs, though. During the Triassic time, the first real mammals appeared. These small, nocturnal animals would later change into many different species that live today. Like reptiles, amphibians, and other survivors, they are able to live and do well in harsh environments because of the Triassic. The environments that grew weren't completely new. They were built on top of what evolution had done millions of years before. There are many traits in animals today that can be tracked back to changes that happened in the Triassic. The diversification of plants and animals, as well as the slow changes in climate, all had effects that affected the future of life on Earth. In a sense, the Triassic era set the stage for a lot of evolution that happened after it. This legacy still has an effect on the world today. The Triassic period left behind a lot of fossils that tell us a lot about the world that lived long ago. Each fossil tells a story about a creature or setting that lived millions of years ago. It's like a picture from a time that is long gone. We can learn a lot about the early days of dinosaurs, reptiles, and other old species thanks to some of the most interesting fossils from the Triassic. Coelophysis was a small, quick dinosaur that lived on the plains of what is now North America. Its fossil is one of the most famous from the Triassic period. Paleontologists learned a lot about the early development of dinosaurs from finding these fossils. They showed that dinosaurs started out as small, light animals that changed into the huge dinosaurs of later times. In the same way, Fossils of Eoraptors found in South America show how the first carnivorous dinosaurs looked and suggest traits that would later be found in apex hunters like Tyrannosaurus rex. Marine fossils from the Triassic are also very well preserved. For example, the famous fossil beds of the Zonhofen limestone in Germany are full of fossils of sea life. These fossils, which include fish, invertebrates, and early marine reptiles, give scientists a look into the Triassic seas and help them learn about the different ecosystems that lived there. Plant fossils, like those of conifers and ferns, are just as important. They help us figure out what kinds of settings dinosaurs and other reptiles lived in. By preserving these plants, we can piece together ancient landscapes. This shows how plants not only affected the animals that lived on these lands but also how those animals changed to adapt to the temperature. These fossils have taught us more about Triassic species than just how they looked. They have also helped us understand their behavior, diet, and the problems they faced in their surroundings. Fossilized footprints show us how these animals walked, and the shapes of their bones tell us how fast they grew and how long they lived. If you look at these fossils together, they show how the world was changing in the past, making way for new life forms. It was a time of big changes, evolution, and survival during the Triassic period. From the chaos that followed the end of the Permian to the rise of the first dinosaurs and the ecosystems they helped build, the Triassic was a very important time in the history of life on Earth. We have seen how ecosystems changed over time and how animals adapted to new settings. We have also seen how even the worst extinction events could not wipe out life's amazing resilience. During the Triassic, dinosaurs were born, plant life became more diverse, and new ways of surviving were created. From the interesting fossils that tell us about the past to the memory that lives on in living things today, the Triassic was more than just a time of change. It laid the groundwork for a lot of what would happen in the future on Earth. To fully understand the history of life on Earth, you must first understand the Triassic era. It makes us remember that even though extinction events are terrible, they also make room for new life to grow. The Triassic, a time of new ideas, adaptations, and life, set the stage for the rise of the dinosaurs in the Jurassic. As we continue to find skeletons and learn more about this very old time period, we learn not only about the past but also about what will happen in the future. How do the Triassic periods teach us about the world today? Thanks for coming along with us on this trip through time. Check out more in-depth documentaries about Earth's prehistoric past by subscribing to the channel if you like this look into the Triassic era. Tell us what you think about the Triassic in the comments below. What interests you the most? Also, don't forget to share this video with other people who like dinosaurs and history. Until next time, keep discovering the amazing things that happened in Earth's past.